Happy July 4th weekend to everyone. I'm standing at the beach in Palm Beach, and as you can see behind me, there isn't a soul on the beaches. Usually past 12 o'clock on July 4th weekend, there would be thousands of people all along the beach enjoying the July 4th weekend. This year, because of the coronavirus, the law is you cannot be on the beaches to practice social distancing. What are the American traditions for July 4th weekend? Well, of course, there's the famous Hotdog contest. Yesterday, the winner consumed 75 hot dogs within 10 minutes. And indeed, many people will fire up their grills and have hot dogs. As a matter of fact, I read that Americans consume 20 billion hot dogs a year, which means that on average, each person eats 70 hot dogs a year. Well, this fellow who won yesterday consumed 75 hot dogs in 10 minutes. What else do people do? Fireworks, of course. We heard plenty of them last night, and I'm sure we'll hear more tonight. But what is July 4th really all about? Well, let me tell you what it means for me. You know, my mother's parents, Mendel and Henya Bash, both survived Auschwitz. They lost their entire families. They were lucky enough to come to this country, to the United States of America, which granted them the freedom to start their life again after they got married, giving birth to my mother and her younger sister, allowing them to practice Judaism and send their daughters to yeshiva. Hence, myself and all of my siblings and my cousins were granted the greatest gift, the freedom of the United States of America. On July 4th, we should think about what America really represents. You know, I've had many members of our synagogue tell us what America means to them. One of the members of our synagogue is Mark Wilf, the owner of the Minnesota Vikings. And he told me that his father, Joseph Wilf, was an immigrant to this country after surviving the Holocaust. And when he came to America, he became very successful, opening up a development company in New Jersey. But then, when he became very successful, he wanted to do something all-American, to participate in the great culture of this country. And so he decided, as a Holocaust survivor, to buy a football team, because there's nothing more American than football. We have another member of our synagogue whose name is Joseph Feldman. He told me that his parents were so grateful to this country after coming here and being granted the freedom to become successful in this country and raise their family as proud Jews in New Jersey, that every year on July 4th, he would go out and hang his American flag in front of his house. That's what July 4th is really all about. A matter of fact, July 4th was the day that the Declaration of Independence was ratified. And I know of no greater spiritual document than the Declaration of Independence in American literature, because it begins by saying, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Where is it self-evident that all men are created equal? Granted by their Creator, by God, unalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The only place that is self-evident is in the Torah. When God creates man in the beginning of Bereshit, God says, "Nasa Adam, B'Tzalmeinu Kidmuseina, I will create man in my image." And because every human being is in the image of one God, therefore we are all equal and created equal, and we are all entitled to the rights of life, Chaim, liberty, freedom, and of course the pursuit of happiness and fulfillment. That's what America stands for. That's what July 4th is all about. You know, when Moshe Rabbeinu is met by God at the burning bush, God tells him, "Take off your shoes, because you are in sacred ground." And one of the novel interpretations is God says, "Shal na'alecha." Now, na'alecha in Hebrew means shoes, but na'al in Hebrew also means a lock. And what perhaps God was telling Moses was, you think you can't do this. You think you're not up for the mission to go and free the Jews from Egypt. As Moshe Rabbeinu argues with God and says, "Why me? I'm not capable. I'm not suitable. I have a speech impediment. I have an older brother who's more qualified." And God says, "Take off your shoes," but also in Hebrew, take off those locks. though you have locks in your mind and your heart thinking you can't do it, you were created in my image. I empower you. You are capable. As God says to Moses, who gave a mouth to man to speak? Is it not I, God? And therefore, if I send you, you can do it. July 4th should remind us what the Declaration of Independence says. We are all created in God's image. We are all free and capable of fulfilling our own destiny in this world. We should never be held back by any mental or physical locks. We should realize that God granted us freedom by making us in His divine image. Conclusion, there's a great story told about the famous Houdini. And Houdini was known that he could open up any lock. And one time he was taken to a certain town and he was put in a cage, in a cell with a lock. And he was presented with the challenge to get out of the cell. And he worked tirelessly for 1 hour, for 2 hours. After 3 hours of trying with his tools to open the lock, he could not. And finally, out of exhaustion, he fell and collapsed on the door that he was trying to open for hours. And suddenly the door swung open. You see, they had never locked the door in the first place. Sometimes in life, we don't realize that the doors that we think are locked are actually open. America opened the doors for many of our ancestors and for millions of people and granted us the freedom from God, as its founders wrote, the unalienable rights granted by our Creator, that all men are created equal and therefore entitled to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. May this July 4th, that we cannot go to the beaches, not just be about eating hot dogs and about shopping and about fireworks, but more importantly, this year more than ever before, let us think what it really means to be American. What it means is to live in a country that recognizes our divine presence, that each and every one of us are equal in the eyes of God, and therefore we should pursue life, liberty, and happiness, knowing that there are no doors that God would ever lock before us. May this year, July 4th, be more meaningful than ever before. Have a wonderful, meaningful, inspiring, and uplifting July 4th.